Are you ready for a job that gets you more? UPS is hiring now. As a warehouse worker, you'll earn up to $21 per hour, and you might even be eligible for a program that helps you with thousands of dollars for college, in many cases tuition free. Search and apply now at upsjobsky.com.
Card Nation, this is attorney Alex White with SueDistractedDriver.com. Our law firm is a team of dedicated attorneys ready to fight for you. If you get injured because of someone else's negligence, their insurance company already has a legal team, and now so do you. If you or a friend or loved one are injured, find your attorney at SueDistractedDriver.com.
This is an advertisement.
So the numbers so far are pretty good. So we'll wait to hear from Coach Sat as we get going here on this Monday. Thanks for being with us. Speaking of Louisville and Wake Forest, looking for their fourth straight win. ESPN Louisville will be your home for the most pre- and post-game coverage. Pat Jaggers, Taylor Lynch with the Miller Lite pregame show at 11 a.m. on all Louisville stations. And then directly following the game, Mark Ennis has you covered for the Miller Lite postgame show on all stations. If it's Louisville football, we're talking about it here on ESPN Louisville and the ESPN Louisville app. Kentucky football looks to go to 5-0 this Saturday, hosting Florida at Kroger Field. Louisville, ESPN Louisville is your place for instant reaction. James Strebel, Jason Ince around 10 p.m. for the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife postgame show. First place where you'll get calls and texts and hear live from Mark Stoops. All right here on ESPN 680, 105.7, and the ESPN Louisville app. And don't forget, we also have many broadcasts from the National Football League. Tonight, the Eagles at Dallas, 7:30 p.m. on all ESPN stations. Produce is getting all worked up over that, I'm sure, as the Eagles are in action, trying to win on the road. Sunday, we have the proverbial triple header. I love those. Colts at Dolphins at noon, Ravens at Broncos. That's going to be Teddy Bridgewater and Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to be betting the over in that game, just so every time either one of them gets the ball, all I can do is root for them to score. Every possession. We want touchdown, 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 touchdown. Final score like 87-82 would be a nice game. So that's what we're looking for in that game. And then the Packers, the resurgent Packers at 7:30. Is that right? That's not right, because the Packers just played the 49ers. They wouldn't be playing them again, would they? That seems unlikely. So that's got to be a misprint. Correct? Yeah. Find out who they're playing and see which game that is. While we're in business, what the hell? ESPN Louisville's your home for Lou City Soccer. Our next broadcast of GE Appliances coverage of Louisville City FC is the Wednesday. Lou City goes to Atlanta, 7:15 p.m. And don't forget to Chess Trap Soccer City on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. on ESPN 680 and 105.7. So there we go. All right. Where's Coach Sat now? He's winning games, so he's showing up late. What's that all about? Big time in us? What is that? How are we? Anybody going to give me an update? He's there?
Just a lot of different things that went into the second half, but nevertheless, fought hard and got a good road win. Against I think Florida State has talent. There's no question about it. And I thought they played better. If you think about turnover-wise, they didn't have a turnover until the very last play they had offensively. Because we're watching them right now playing Wake Forest, and where they did have a lot of turnovers and just missed handoffs and just some crazy stuff. But so they did play better, and then I thought their defense played better in the second half. But we're excited about moving forward. And Wake Forest this week, I think every year, Wake Forest is one of the most well-coached teams that you're going to play. Coach Clausen and his staff, they do a great job. And I've been battling against Coach Clausen for many years, all the way back when he was at Richmond and he came to App State and played us in the playoffs one time. And then he was at Bowling Green when I was at Toledo. Just a lot of respect for him and what he does with his program. He always gets a lot out of his players. They're playing at a high level right now, really in all three phases. They have a veteran team, a team that guys have been around for a while. A lot of the same faces that we've seen the last 1 or 2, 3 years are still playing. But I think, one of the things that they've done well again this year is the turnover margin. I feel like every year they do a great job with that. Very efficient on offense, take care of the football. Hartman's playing at a high level right now, operating their offense. And defensively, they're very aggressive. They're getting after it. They're playing some man and really just linebackers are downhill. D-line's getting after it. They're playing hard. And it's very efficient in the special teams. And so a lot of momentum down there. They, undefeated, and I think they get ranked this week in the top 25. So kind of similar to what happened 2 years ago. We went down there. They were a ranked team. Went down and played, and was a great football game. If you like offense, but I think we just played these guys our last game last year as well. So there's, a lot of familiarity, I think, between the two teams because there's a lot of same players that played in that game that are playing now. And, so it should be a great matchup. Looking forward to going down and playing and in a good environment there at 12:30.
Scott Kent with WHAS 11. Is there an update on Braden Smith?
Yeah, unfortunately, Braden tore some ligaments in his knee, and he'll be out. He'll be out for this year. And, that's two players in back-to-back weeks for us. Key contributors, one on offense, one on defense. And I hate it. That's the awful part of this game that we have to deal with on a week-in and week-out basis, and you see it across the country. I think Clemson had a defensive lineman that went out with one of very similar injury, who's now out for the year. It's just one thing you don't want to see. You don't want to see that for anybody on any team, and I hate it for how hard these guys work, and then, the season gets taken away. But Braden's in good spirits. He'll bounce back. He'll get back even stronger. So now we're, what that means is other guys have to step up in that receiving room and in the punt return game. He's a lot of things that we ask him to do on this team. So there's going to have to be other players to step up. And proud of JJ for doing that in that game against Florida State, catching the punts. So we'll need some more guys to step up and really help, fill in the gap where he's going to be left.
Scott, Andrew Chernoff, going off of that, with Braden now, obviously Monty's out as well. You saw the players step up without Monty and Braden. How confident is it within the locker room that guys will be able to step up in those two absences?
Yeah, we got a lot of confidence in our guys. The way we prepare our guys and the way they get out and play. And, we talk to them all the time about, hey, you're one play away from being in that game. And so you got to prepare yourself and be ready to go. And that's at every position because you never know at what position it's going to happen at. And, as coaches, we try to create depth. That's why, you're bringing in guys and try to create depth. And sometimes there's a guy that's maybe down in the depth chart, but all of a sudden after an injury or two, he's right back there. He's ready to go. So you never know when your time's going to come. Our guys have done a really good job of that, of preparing and getting ready to go when it is their time. So we have a lot of confidence our guys will step up and make play.
Scott Cameron with the Courier-Journal. Kind of off that, you lose Monty last week, you lose Braden this week. As you prepare to go forward, does that change how you go into practice? Do you go lighter than you would just with the fair injury? You just keep going how you've been?
Well, no, I think you still got to prepare the way we think that's going to give us the best chance. I don't think that you're going to change your plan just because you lose a player. I think the next guy that's coming in there, he's got to prepare just like the player did before him. And so we're doing some things in practice are a little bit different, but whether we had injuries or not didn't have anything to do with that. I do believe you got to get your players fresh to the game. They got to be mentally fresh, physically fresh. We learned a lot, I thought, within our first three contests with those short weeks. We learned a lot of things that we could do. And so we've tweaked a little bit of the practice. But, we still got to prepare the way we've always prepared. And, whoever's in the game's got to be ready to go.
Defending Wake Forest, you can't be too aggressive with them because then they'll kind of do that delay thing. How do you approach it defensively, going into this game? Yeah, it's a unique offense, the things that they do. It's the slow ride, with the running back, and they create some problems with you by doing that. You're right. If you get too aggressive and you get out of a gap, that's when they're going to gash you. You have to be fundamentally sound. You have to be, understanding what they're trying to do offensively because they do a lot of different things with the gap scheme, with his own read. They'll run Hartman a little bit. And then all of a sudden he'll pull the ball and he'll throw the ball on one of these routes. And they got some excellent receivers. That's the one thing I've been impressed over the years, how they've been able to continue to get good receivers. And remember 2 years ago we went down there, outstanding receivers, and we couldn't really cover them. And they still have some great ones this year. So you have to be fundamentally sound in what you're trying to do defensively. But you can't sit back either. I think, if you sit back, then they're just going to methodically go down the field on you. And I think they're very efficient on third down. But they understand what they're doing. I think Sam Hartman's got a really good understanding of their offense, and he knows where to go with the football and what you're trying to present them on defense. So, but it comes back to really just fundamentals.
You talk a little bit about Braden being out. He has such a unique skill set that allows you to do so many different things, having been a high school quarterback before. Losing that to your offense, do you lose a big piece on what you guys can do?
Well, I just think his experience is really the main thing that you lose. That he's played in a lot of games for us. He's really our main starter that came back from last year off. If you think about Tutu and Dez leaving, he was kind of the main starter that came back off last year's team. And the guys, more than anything, I think the receiving room really kind of looks up to him, and they trust and believe in his ability and all that stuff just because he's been there and done that. And so I think that's probably the biggest part of the loss. I think, we have some guys that we think can go in and make some plays and do some things that he was able to do. Hopefully, Shy Works will be back here soon. He's a guy that, got hurt in the Ole Miss game, and, he's going to practice this week. We'll see. Still be a question mark whether he's available or not, but he's very, very close. If it's not this week, it'll be the next week. He should be back. So that gives you another piece to that puzzle. To have another guy that's played quarterback, that's kind of done some things as well that we can add to the mix.
Scott, it's Jody Dilling with Cardinal Authority. When you were talking about special teams after the game, can you just speak a little bit more about Mark and that punting and how much it did help flip the field position? And then other than that, also Braden, I think Josh return punts. Will he continue to do that?
Yeah, Mark, like in the second half when we were not moving the ball offensively, then you have to do something to help counteract that. And our punting game was huge. He nailed some of those punts. Actually, kicked it over the guy returner's head at one point. We downed 2 of them inside the 10, and kept the ball where they couldn't get any returns. Marvin Dallas had another great hit on a punt. I mean, it's almost gotten to the point now where our team is looking at Marvin to see when he's going to make the hit. I mean, on these returners, and at some point, I think they'll probably start fair catching. I don't know. I mean, unless they like getting hit by Marvin, but I think the combination of the way we're covering and then his ability to get the ball out, I think that was huge because we kept them pinned back. And I think that was a big part of that second half with the punting aspect. And and we've been seeing that. I think that was his first game. He's kind of unleashed some punts, and but he's certainly capable of doing that continually. And I think JJ did a great job in their punt return game. And I think Watkins could be another guy back there that we could put back there. I think he's got good. The biggest thing for me in a punt return scenario is fielding the ball. To me, it's gravy if you can get some yards after you field it, but it's fielding the ball because you want to get the ball back and offensively. And I think both of those guys give us a great opportunity to get the ball back. And Watkins may give you a little bit more once he gets the ball. To make some run after the return. So we'll look at both of those guys and we'll see. But JJ, obviously he did a great job. We know he can do it.
Scott, Matt McGavick, Sports Illustrated. The way that the ACC is kind of shaken out the first few weeks, this weekend's game has the potential to dictate who takes over first in the Atlantic Division. With so much on the line in this early of a game, what's your message to the team knowing that this could be a momentous table-setting game moving forward for the rest of the season?
Yeah, we don't worry about all that. We worry about Wake Forest. And we're if you start thinking about all the other stuff and all that, then you're not focusing on what needs to be focused on, and that's the team we got to play this week. And so we're looking at tomorrow's practice to be having the best Tutu we can have, and that's the way you have to look at it. I think alumni, media, and all the people can look at all the other stuff and talk about it. It's fun talk, but that stuff doesn't really matter. This is our 5th game. It's our 2nd ACC game, and we got to go play as good as we can possibly play to go beat Wake Forest. That's the bottom line. I think one thing it does show you in the first 4 weeks is that the parity in college football is real, and if you don't show up, you'll get beat. It doesn't matter who you are. And Minnesota got beat by Bowling Green this weekend as a 30-point favorite. I mean, it doesn't matter. Clemson loses to NC State. I mean, every single week you're going to see examples of this, that if the team doesn't show up, they're going to lose. And, it's awesome because this sport is incredibly great, and I think the fans love that part about it. And this year more than ever, it's up for grabs. It's with the team that prepares the best week in and week out and goes and performs that will have an opportunity, to win their conference, to go to a great bowl or go to playoffs. So I think, but you have to stay in the moment. You have to stay focused on the team you're playing.
Scott, did you get the sense maybe that Yasir put even more on his plate on Saturday now that Monty is done for the year?
No, I don't think so. I think he's been playing at a high level all year. We saw that in camp from him. He's he put on some extra weight. He's got a little bit more confidence. He's got his endurance level is much better this year. In the past, he would go from full to empty in a hurry, and and he'd have to come off the sideline, and now he gets tired, but I mean he's playing at a high level, and it was great to see him, pass rush the other day against Florida State, and then we saw Ashton, who's he's outstanding. Yaya put back-to-back weeks together. Those three guys, man, they provide great pressure to be able to put on quarterbacks, and but I just think Yasir is just continuing to get better. He's continuing to develop to become a great player, and I think he'll continue to get better and better.
Scott, between touchbacks and fair catch, you've had 6 kickoff returns out of 24 possibilities. Your opponent's 5 of 21. Is the kickoff nearing extinction, or is the number of injuries, call for revisiting that?
I don't know. I think that's a big debate. With the fair catch now that you do have in the kickoff return game and/or kicking in the end zone, you get the ball on the 25-yard line. I think some people look at it as, hey, let's just fair catch it, get the ball on 25. Let's don't try to, because sometimes you can get a penalty. Now you're backed up 10. Or, I think if you do have a successful kick returner, then it's worth the opportunity to come out and try to get some yards in that. I think if you don't feel good about your kick return team, then it's probably best just to fair catch it and take a knee. I don't know. You look at the what game? Oh, Wisconsin Notre Dame game. That kickoff return Notre Dame had this weekend really sparked them to win like it was. I think it was maybe tied or very, very close whenever he returned that kickoff for a touchdown, and that kind of opened the game wide open. So I think you certainly can utilize that play for your benefit. And, but we'll see. I don't know that it'll ever come out of the game. I think whenever you're seeing plays like that happen for Notre Dame, and I don't know the studies about injuries and stuff on the kickoff. I don't know what their stats say. I think that if it was a high probability of getting hurt on that it may end up coming out, so I think that remains to be seen.
Scott, this was the kind of on the running backs. This was the first extended snaps we've seen from Berkeley since his hip injury last year. How did he look? And then also we didn't get to see Cooley. Mm-hmm. Was he a scratch, or was he just you want to play Berkeley instead of him?
Cooley was a game time decision and could have played, but we chose to hold him out, and he'll be back this week. He'll be full practice all week. Berkeley's a guy like you mentioned. He had that really a bad injury last year at the Syracuse game and got that fixed, and he's been back and did a great job in the offseason to get back healed up. And one thing about Berkeley, you can count on him. He's just very steady Eddie. I mean, he's just going to work hard. He's going to know what to do. Nothing flashy as a running back, but he gave us some good plays, some good minutes out there, and he's on special teams, so he's a valuable part of our team, and he knows when he's called upon that he can give you everything he has at a running back position.
Scott, you put Jordan back returning kicks, I think, in the second half or maybe late first half. Was Hassan injured, or is that just a decision that you guys made?
Yeah, Hassan came into the game a little dinged up, and that's the reason why Burke got more opportunities at running back. And then, after a couple of returns, felt like he was banged up even more. So we're like, listen, we'll put Watkins back there. We feel good about Watkins, what he can do. And so that was the reason we made that move. And again, it goes back to what we talked about. You get somebody dinged up or you get some injuries, and the other guy's got to step up and make plays.
A follow-up with Watkins on that touchdown catch. He kind of showed what you guys have been talking about, the ability after the catch.
Yeah, great confidence in Watkins and what he can do. He's going to catch the football. He can run after the catch. And, I thought he had another solid game for us. He had played good in the Central Florida game, played good in the Florida State game. Go back to Wake Forest game. Played good in the Wake Forest last year. So I think he's obviously a talented player. He's going to catch the football, but he has the ability after he catches it to make those runs. And that was a nice catch and run. Split the safeties, got up in the end zone, and we expect that out of him, and hopefully continue to be able to get him the ball and let him make plays.
Scott, what do you see out of this Wake Forest defense? You mentioned turnover margin. Is this a unit that tries to create turnovers, or are they just kind of happening with them right now?
I just think they're very solid. They're coached well. They're where they're supposed to be. I think, they're playing hard up front. Everything starts in the trenches, and their D-line plays hard. They create problems. And, if you're getting after the quarterback, which they do, they've gotten, I don't know how many sacks this year, but got several sacks. They're making the quarterback throw the ball when he doesn't want to. When that happens, then sometimes those turnovers are going to happen. So, but I think more than anything, it's where they're supposed to be, and they're playing hard. I think that's defensively, something that maybe 2 years ago they didn't do as well, but they're doing a much better job with that now. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Scott Satterfield's presser is brought to you by somebody.
Sorry. U of L Health, making the impossible possible. That's the power of you.
There you go. I knew you'd know that. I just knew. I felt comfortable that you would know that. Why did you open the door and yell down the hall all then?
Oh, just to switch out of simulcast.
Oh, so now 93.9 goes back to
national.
The National Football League.
Yeah, I don't know who's on actually right now. I think it's CBS Sports, but I don't know who.
Well, we're glad you're with us. It's been an eventful weekend in a lot of ways. Certainly, U of L gets a important conference win on the road, even though Florida State struggling mightily. It's still a road win in the league, and they have some athletes, and they'll, we'll see what's going to happen with this team. They certainly, there weren't very many people there. That's a big source of revenue, of course. So. You got to think they're thinking about making a change, but we'll see how it plays out going forward. Of course, Georgia Southern, the football powerhouse that is Georgia Southern, had to get rid of their guy. The guy's gone to a bowl game for the last 5 years, but he's 1-3 this year. Now he's a jackass. Get him out of here. Get that crap out of his office. Get that. I hate that poster. Get him out. Now, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because I've done no research on this. Maybe it was for something else. Maybe he was breaking rules, or he was abusive to players, or he was, stooping the president's wife. Hey, how you doing? But what? I'm just taking guesses. But assuming
you're back in studio, you're feeling good.
But assuming it's none of those things, really. But that's football. That's football. You got to find a football coach from the football team on the football field very early in the football season, because God forbid you let him go another week, even though he's been in bowl games 5 straight years. He got stupid over this summer.
Good news, bad news.
Okay.
I mean, all three of I feel bad because Western, I consider them a local too. But I guess the Power 5 locals, there you go. All of them victorious.
So why is that bad news?
Well, no, that's good news. I said good news, bad news. But the bad news, injury bugs. Braden Smith out for the year with U of L. DJ Matthews, one of the
brutal game.
The bright spots for IU, one of the few ones they've had. He's out for the year.
Yep. I mean, it's everybody goes through it. If you don't, you're incredibly lucky. It is the nature of the game. I go through this like every year, although I do. Nick, tell the other hosts if they want me to come on and do a football segment, I'd be happy to do it, because my fantasy team is now 3-0. And on the Fast Break Friday show with Mr. Pratt, one of the two hosts went 5-0 against the spread, and it wasn't Mike. So you can try and get tips.
And I didn't make picks that show. I do want to say, I think Greer, speed round, gave me 3 games, and I think I hit all 3 of them. And I'm mad because I initially said NC State money line, but then he kind of talked me out of it, and I was like, fine, I'll take the points. But I think your boy went 3 for 3 as well.
All right, so the Valvano's rolling, so maybe we can go on together on the show, considering we got one good week.
Hey, that's enough.
Plenty. Absolutely plenty. But, this is a week that changes the perception of both teams if they were to be victorious. I mean, Florida's an exceptional team. Kentucky has the benefit of getting them at home. But if they pull this off, they'd be 5-0, and they would be 3-0 in the league, and they would have a win over, I think Florida's 11. I don't know where they are on the new poll. I think they're 11. So that's another level win. That's what that is. And we know the history that they've had with Florida. So that would be extraordinary. Louisville is playing a Wake Forest team that's on a roll right now. They went into Virginia and just backhanded them out of the way.
Sorry, Catherine.
That is a tough challenge. But, if they can, after stumbling week 1 against a team that's turned out to be a lot better than people thought in the preseason.
Florida's 10th, by the way.
10th. Wow, so you have to win against the top 10 team. So, and then Louisville would have a win, on the road, 2 road wins in conference if they were to get this. I think the challenge is going to be great for both of them. We shall see how it plays out. We also have a great game in the NFL, and I've said this before, I will be betting the over because it's Teddy against Lamar. How great is that? And both their teams are having great starts. I think Teddy's team is undefeated, right? They haven't lost. Aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they're 3-0, and Lamar's team is 2-1, so they're combined 5-1.
Thanks because of Justin Tucker's heroics.
That was unbelievable. They're showing it right now, and so perfect too that he goinked it off the crossbar. That was so perfect Didn't he gank it off the crossbar?
Yeah. Initially, it looked like it didn't.
That's so
it didn't go.
Disney-esque. I'm watching it again. I mean, it is just, here it is. I mean, it's a perfect kick, dead center, end over end, goink off the crossbar, and then I think it carried far enough back though that it actually went into the netting. So he must have had some pretty good juice on it. That was extraordinary.
I forgot what the because I was actually listening. I was driving all over. I went to Louder Than Life every day this week, but I was able to listen to that portion of it because I was driving down there. I was listening over on 93.9 The Bill. Shout out. You're home for the Ravens all season long. But I think there was like a penalty or something, and it proved really costly because, I mean, Tucker needed every bit of leg on that kick. And
I mean, he was going to try it from 5 yards behind that? He was going to try a 71-yarder?
Well, I mean, if he doesn't get that penalty, maybe he doesn't try it. But if he does, then he doesn't make it. I mean, he put that was literally a perfect kick. He put everything into it, and literally it was, I mean, inches away from missing. And so, I mean, he was absolutely at his limit. Fantastic kick, but absolutely at his limit. So, I mean, he couldn't have gone from 71, and maybe they wouldn't have tried it.
I'm sure they couldn't possibly have tried it. You saw the other game, though, they tried it from 68, turned into a 109-yard touchdown going the other way. Ooh, backfired.
That's got to sting.
Ooh, that hurts. That absolutely hurt. Lots of surprises. Some teams that we thought were going to be off to great starts in the NFL, off to terrible starts. It's painful to be a New York football fan. They have not won a game. They're collectively 0-6, and the debate is just who's worse. I think the Jets are worse, but the Giants are no great shakes either. I don't completely understand we were talking about this. I mean, I understand that they're upset, and when you're upset, you boo at the pro level. That's fine, but why boo the owner? I mean, the owner didn't make these draft picks or or make trades or sign guys in free agent. He just gives them the money. They come to him and say, "Can we afford Sam Jablonski? We really want him. Oh, he's great. He'll be great for us." All right, here's the money. And then Sam comes in, and Sam sucks. And then they call the owner. He goes out on the field, and they boo him. And he's like, what do you want from me?
I don't know. See, I do think,
They booed the Lions owner off the field, too. Now, that franchise has been awful forever. But
at what point, I mean,
because James Dolan
that's exactly where I was going to go.
But he noodles in. He's always putting his 2 cents in. He thinks he knows. There's nothing worse, double ignorance. If you don't know, but you know that you don't know, okay, great. Then then you're only guilty of hiring bad football or basketball people. But when you don't know and you think you know, now you're doubly dangerous because now you're out there making decisions and we need to sign this player and that player. Let's give all the money to that Amari Stoudemire. He was really good. And then we can give the same amount of money. If we give him the same amount of money as like LeBron James, won't he be as good as LeBron James? Because we'll be paying him the same amount. No, James, it doesn't work that way. Yes, it does. Because look at all the people who are making the most money. They're really good.
Let's give all the money to Amari. Well, I mean, he's a good player, but, he couldn't really guard you or I. No. We'll give him all the money, and he'll become fantastic. And then he became the most expensive flag towel waiver on the bench. Anyway, our buddy Entz, this is right. Yes,
the penalty that Nick is alluding to was
Lamar snapped the ball like 2 seconds after the play clock ended.
Oh,
and
it would have backed him up.
Yeah, it would have backed him in the 71. That's Entz passed that along, and he's right. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Because I heard Zach Gelb and
you can't call that on Lamar. Come on.
Also, other bad news, I suppose. Well,
damn, you're just a Debbie Downer today.
I don't mean to, but I had such a great weekend. I almost feel like I'm trying to give the universe, their pound of flesh a little bit, maybe, because I definitely think I took out a loan of happiness. It was absolutely a wonderful weekend. Shout out to the folks at Louder Than Life. That was a well-run event. I know everything was kind of rough at Railbird and everything like that, and I'm not sure it's the same group of people, but
what? Who's Railbird?
Railbird was the festival in Lexington.
When? That you went to a while ago.
Yeah,
well, why don't you bring that up now?
Well, no, just because that was the last festival in the area, and it left a bad taste in a lot of folks' mouths. Because when
you eat 9-day-old fish, that happens.
I have no response to that, but no. Louder Than Life was absolutely terrific. Great weather. I've never been part of an event with that many people where everyone was polite. I mean, that is a hard rock crowd. Everyone's dressed up as bikers and death metal and everything like that. And absolutely, I didn't see one instance of people being jerks to one another. Like, everyone was friendly, even when drunk people bumped into one another. It was like, oh, I'm sorry, everybody. I mean, it was just fantastic work all around. Great weather. The lines weren't too long.
They weren't too out well.
I mean, seriously, they did a great job with health screening. They did, there were a lot of police there in case anything did get crazy, but nothing did, so you felt safe. I mean, lots of good choices for food, and everything was, moving pretty smoothly. They had the beer cart guys going in and out of the crowd, so nothing got out of hand. A lot of the bands, it was their first time playing in 2 years. So they were very, very appreciative to be there. You didn't have any drunken Madonnas yelling at the city of Louisville. Everyone was happy to be there. Everyone was happy to be out in a boot. And the only issue I think they had was they had a few technical mishaps on stage. One of the bands joked that their mics had COVID because they were going in and out. But besides that, I mean, everything was absolutely smooth sailing. So tip of the cap to the fine folks at Louder Than Life and all the bands and all the people that were out there. Absolutely awesome. But no, I was saying that there are still some bad news in terms of local stories. Braden Smith out, DJ Matthews out, but also the UK football players are supposed to meet with the grand jury today. I think Matt Jones tweeted that, and the attitude is very much that a lot of the charges will be dropped. So one way or another, it's kind of bad news because people will either be like, oh, yeah, UK mafia taking care of their own, or they're going to have a couple hits as well. I think there's 9 I'll get the details on who's actually going to be before the grand jury, but we have that going on as well today. So
it's a good week for assassins. It's been a good couple of weeks. No, really good week for assassins. You had the guy who killed Robert Kennedy. State your business. What do you want?
Stoops, Foles, and Dropbox for later.
Oh, okay, yeah. We'll have Mark Stoops' press conference in its entirety coming up at 2 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. Great.
He talks a long-ass time.
Well,
like if he just wrapped up, like seriously, Sack goes like 14 minutes, Stoops goes like 26.
It's fun when you win. You like to talk to the media. You like to just yabber on. Good for him. They let Sirhan out now. They granted him his parole, and then a federal judge today said John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate President Ronald Reagan 40 years ago. Can be freed from all remaining restrictions next year if he continues to follow the rules and remains mentally stable. If that were the criteria, I know a whole lot of people who would not be allowed out. including most of the people who work here.
Like I said, I was at Louder Than Life this weekend, so I watched the replay and everything. But live, the only portion I watched was when things were kind of getting a little dire in the second half. Mm-hmm. I mean, Louisville was.
Yeah, they smoked in the first half. They were smokage.
Yeah, four total touchdowns for Malik Cunningham. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm certainly no football expert, but a lot of it seemed it was fun in the first half because a lot of the vitriol, the first part of the season, and everyone was mad at Satterfield and U of L, was that a lot of the stuff that they were touting in the offseason wasn't coming to fruition. Uh-huh. Malik was running too much. They kept talking about Tyler Harrell, how fast he was and what a wonderful athlete and he would be. They were hyping up both the offensive and defensive lines. And then it seemed like all the things that they were selling came to fruition in the first half. Malik was, still doing cool Malik things on the ground, but he wasn't running unnecessarily. He was airing it out, got a score from Jordan Watkins and Tyler Harrell. I mean, opening play, Harrell had him beat by like 7 steps. They basically rushed 3 the entire game. And everybody on the defensive line was eating. Jack Fagot had numerous tackles for a loss. Yasir Abdullah, I think, had 2 sacks. Yaya Diaby was blowing up plays and had a sack. The guy who I don't think's Italian, but sounds Italian, Ashton Gelati. I mean, he even got a sack. I mean, everybody was eating, and they basically rushed 3 the entire game. So it was like, okay. Especially Yaya Diaby was getting, hyped up in the offseason. And now everything was starting to be like, okay, now we see what everyone was selling us. Because it felt like a bill of goods the first couple of games when those guys were pretty irrelevant. And then the second half, it got, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom because, I think it was.
Well, they scored all 31 points in the first half. I mean, if they
scored the first 5 drives.
If they just score 10 in the second half or even 7, they make it almost impossible. Florida State would have to get like 5 touchdowns, but they didn't. So they got within 8, which is a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So they at least made a game of it. But but that's people talk about that all the time. And that maybe because that's my basketball background. And Paul Rogers likes to talk about that. Team comes out before the first 5-minute timeout, they've got 20 points. One of those starts. They make like 5 threes to start the game. They got 20 points. And, Paul will point out, well, they're on pace now to score 200 points. I'm fairly certain that they'll slow down. So, again, though, you can say, well, that's not a good analogy because slowing down doesn't mean getting nothing in the second half. But, he talked about it, the nature of the beast. Sometimes you think it's over and you shouldn't. That's the lesson here, especially in today's game, especially in college football, which takes as long as a cricket match now. So there's still plenty of time. And
Well, he addressed it, and I think it's worth noting that Florida State did play better too.
Yeah, it reminds me to some degree of the Louisville Ole Miss game, where in the second half they played much better, but in some degree it wasn't really that much in doubt. They, that's I'm sorry to say, but it wasn't. Well, it's kind of the same deal.
Stylistic window dressing.
You look at the ESPN win probability chart for Louisville, and in the second half it never got under like 80%. So no matter, it still was very much in their control. So
we'll have the boys are cutting up Satterfield from earlier today, and big news of the day: Braden Smith out for the season with a tendon injury. But this was Sat post game talking about the second half offensive woes.
Well, I think offensively a lot of it was us. Florida State did bring a few more pressures in the second half, but we were ready for them. And I just think we didn't execute. And if we go back and watch that film, it was one player here, one player there, and we got to be all 11, playing as one. And, but, when you get a good win, you can go back and you can fix those, work on those, and you continue to grow as a football team. And that's what we'll do offensively. I thought defensively we gave up the one long run, but I thought other than that, they played pretty solid. It was in the second half. We don't want to give up those big plays, make the team try to drive the football. And they did that tonight. They missed a field goal, which was big. And then, so I just think, you come on the road, get your in ACC play, you get your first win. I think it was huge for our team, and that's back-to-back good weeks of good wins there. Really, 3 weeks now.
I'm going to start calling because all coaches. I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, but all coaches use at some point that defense about it was one player here, one player there. I'm going to start calling that the old McDonald explanation. One player here, one player there, here, player there, player everywhere, player. Old McDonald made some screw ups. E-I-E-I-O. That's kind of the truth, right? That's what we'll call it, the old
I should get that, a sounder. Just we'll play that every time.
Every time a coach talks, gives you the old McDonald explanation. I'm not saying it's not true because, it's, and again, he wouldn't say it even if it weren't true because he's not going to dump it all in one person's lap. But they weren't as aggressive. They was not played with the same sense of urgency. And, Florida State did, after all, only score 10 points in the second half. In today's college football, you give up 10 points and a half, you're playing pretty solid defense. And that included, as he pointed out, the one incredibly long run to start the third quarter with Corbin, who went for 75 yards. So, by and large, they did. The defense was very, very solid. So we'll see what happens this week against Wake. There were other interesting storylines over the weekend. The U.S. absolutely took the Europeans out to the woodshed in the Ryder Cup. Unbelievable. That event has been a nail-biter the last day for years now, and the Europeans have dominated it for a while. And these guys really came out determined, and they're so young, to not only win, but to win and send a message. And they won 19-9. Most of the wins in Ryder Cup are 15-13, 15.5, 12.5.
Worst loss for Europe ever.
Oh, and a lot of the guys that put the points on the board are young guys that are just getting to their prime, and that's what
Louisville's Justin Thomas.
That's what the players talked about. That this is going to be, in their mind, it's a new era. They got dominated, now they want to be the ones to do the dominating. So, and I'm still impressed that even you want your players to want to win, and that's great. But even the Europeans who didn't win said it's the most incredible experience for a player. I mean, they all want so badly to be on this team. It's got to be such a different kind of thing. I mean, all you got to do is look at the fact that when it was over, you had DeChambeau and Koepka hugging it out in front of the podium, in front of the trophy there. I mean, it's a team experience, which you don't get. They don't get ever, really, basically. This is it. And they loved it. And, they don't get a lot of money. In fact, they don't get any money at all. I think that the PGA of America gives each player $200,000 to donate to charity. I think it's $100,000 that goes to a golf-related charity, and the other $100,000 goes to a charity of the player's choice. We're going to get the V Foundation on there. But speaking of which, by the way, did you see, I guess they aired it last night or the night before. Did you see Celebrity Jeopardy? The nighttime version of Celebrity Jeopardy?
No.
Okay, they had a special Celebrity Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. I can't remember which one it was. One of those two, long-time game shows, syndicated game shows. It was the celebrity version. Might have been Wheel of Fortune. I don't remember.
I think The Miz hosted it or was going to host it.
Yeah, yes. He's on it because he sent a tweet out. And one of the charities that was being, same thing, the celebrities play for charities. One of them was playing for the V Foundation.
Hey, there we go.
I don't know how they did, though. Unfortunately, we probably had the guy who didn't know what a vowel was. I'd like to buy a vowel. I'd like to buy a W. What? No, can't do that? All right, just give me an R.
What is French toast?
Wrong game. Don't need to put it in the form of a question.
No whammies.
Get them off. Get them off. So anyway, that was interesting as well.
I got a text here. I think it's a good question about U of L. 437-9680 UPS Jobs text line, by the way. Behind the scenes, little action here. Perrin, along with some of the sales folks, sent a very funny lock tweet.
To me?
No. Just it was a funny photo.
In general?
Of Locke, yeah. So
did he find something where data changed and so
no.
All his picks which were wrong were actually right, but the data.
He took his Spectrum photo and it was sort of like what's he look like who wore it better type thing.
We should all love working where we love as much as he adores that place. He is so excited to be there. I mean, it makes me happy that.
No, yeah. I mean, we love Locke. He's the butt of a lot of jokes, but I thoroughly enjoyed working with him on the Midday Rush, and I mean, Andy, you could put this on the mixtape if you want, 1242. But truly, it was fun working with him. He was a quirky lad, but he was a good dude nonetheless. But no, seriously, like it's in a teeny tiny way, it's sort of like your ex who you decided to stay friends with has moved on, and you're just like, oh wow, so he really loves the new guy. He never looked at us that way. But yeah, no, so happy for Locke. Sorry for him and Catherine's wahoos this past weekend. But no, this text 437-9680 UPS Jobs text line. Did U of L drop in the Sagrants with the win to FSU?
I don't remember what they were last week. It's a good question. I don't think I could find what they used to be. It only lists the current one, so should have written it down, but I didn't. I don't know. I can't give you any answer.
I thought they did like a last week type thing, or maybe that's just the AP, the movement. Last week.
Yeah, they don't do it in the Sagrants, but even yeah. So
I'm gonna, during the commercial, I'm going to try to see if I can track that down.
I'm sure you'll be able to do it. Good luck, though. But also, for those of you like me who enjoy baseball, you've got the last week of the regular season going on last night. The Yankee-Red Sox game was so ridiculous last night. I watched that, and then just in time to turn that off and turn on the Packers and the 49ers, which was amazing. Colin Cowherd tweets out, I will be extremely surprised if Jimmy Garoppolo can lead these 49ers down the field for a go-ahead touchdown. And he did. But unfortunately for him, he left Aaron Rodgers 37 whole seconds with no timeouts. And that was enough time for Rodgers to go down the field and get a field goal to win it. So very entertaining last. I watched, probably about the last half of the last quarter after the Yankee game ended. Yankee game was bizarre city. Yanks were it was a 2-2 game, and they were in the seventh inning, I guess it was, and the Red Sox hit 2 routine pop-ups. They walked 2 guys. They got a couple of guys over. So there's a guy on third with 2 out, tie game, and he hit a pop-up to DJ LeMahieu. Schwarber slams his bat. He's pissed off. It's a foul pop-up. He knows that LeMahieu's going to catch it. LeMahieu looks like a third grader. He can't get under it, and it goes back, and he has to lunge sideways for it, not over the bleachers, and he drops it. Now, announcers are dumbfounded. So now they hit a routine fly ball, Schwarber again, and he's even more pissed because this is even more of a routine play. Hits a routine short fly to left field where a good fielder, these 2 guys are gold glove fielders, LeMahieu and Joey Gallo. And he hits it to Gallo, and Gallo, if you get a chance, watch it again, because very quickly it goes in left center field, and he or Brett Gardner could have taken it, but Gallo calls it, and he goes over, and he just completely drops it. And for a split second, Gardner's face behind him is like, what? I mean, he looks like that, shocked face emoji, and then they throw it in. So they're losing 3-2. Now the Yankees come up, and the Red Sox are trying to preserve the lead, and they have Aaron Judge is up, and he hits a foul pop to first. I don't remember who's playing first for the Red Sox, but he's a guy that doesn't play first much. And so, they tell you when it's a foul ball near the stands to find where the stands are, touch them, put your hand on them so you know where they are, and then you relocate the ball. Well, he doesn't do that. So he stops, and he's a good 6-7 feet from the stands, and he's doing that thing where, like, he's leaning to his left as if he thinks he's leaning into the crowd. He's nowhere near the stands. And so the ball lands in the field of play. And he doesn't catch it. So now the next pitch comes and they strike Judge out. But the catcher is trying to transfer the ball from his glove to his throwing hand and drops it. And the home plate umpire calls it a dropped foul tip, third strike. I don't know the rule. I'm sorry. We need to ask the umpire, Nate. I don't know if you know the Major League rule. I don't know if that's a reviewable or not, but if I'm Cora for the Red Sox, I come flying out of the dugout and scream, review that. Never did. So, of course, the next pitch, not exaggeration, Judge hits one 118 miles an hour off the center field wall. So they score. The Yankees score and take a 4-3 lead. He drives in 2 runs. And then Stanton comes up and hits one over the Green Monster, over the billboards atop the Green Monster, over the seats that are on top of the Green Monster, and out into Lansdowne Avenue. And that made him, in this series, now have 10 RBIs, 3 home runs. The Red Sox only scored 9 runs in the whole series. Stanton alone has 10 RBIs, and the Yankees take a 6-3 lead and wind up winning it, and ultimately giving them, why was that a big deal? They were tied for the wild card spot. So now the Yankees have a 1-game lead over the Red Sox. But the Red Sox won the season series. So if the 2 of them wind up tied for the wild card spot, the Red Sox will get to host the game. But there's no guarantee either or both of them are even going to make the playoffs, because that's the beauty of it. With 1 week to go, 1 week left in the regular season, you've got this standing here. We're not doing a 6 and 10, but it will give you a quick glance at the standings. Very entertaining here in the American League especially. The Yankees have a 1-game lead on Boston. Those would be the 2 wild card teams. But Toronto is just 1 game behind Boston. Seattle's just 2 games behind Boston. And Oakland is just 3 games behind Boston. And guess who's calling us again at 12:48 on the show?
Mom?
Of course.
Gotta love it. All right,
How
hey, why
does
don't
nobody know that I'm on the air?
That's perfect timing. Well, she's probably worried about your cardiology appointment. So let's take a break. You talk to Mom, because we got to get a break in anyway, and then Sully will join us at the top.
Okay, well, I'm answering this, so turn my mic off.
All right, cool. It's the V Show on ESPN 680 105.7.
You're locked on the V Show with Bob Valvano on ESPN 680 and 105.7. Now here's Bobby V.
Yeah, this is speaking of weekend events, this is a tragic one. You want the good news, bad news? And a texter reminded me, hey, Bob, I know your love of trains, and it's horrible about the Empire Builder, Amtrak's train that goes from across, it starts in Chicago, I think. I know it goes to Seattle. And it goes across Montana and then North Dakota. It goes through Minnesota, North Dakota, and Montana. And it derailed. And a bunch of people were killed, and there were a bunch of injuries. And I saw the picture, and it was, terrible. Sometimes you see a train gets derailed and it comes off the rails and it jars everybody, but it stays upright. This thing flipped over, and awful. That's one of the beauties of train travel. It's one of the safest ways to go, usually. I mean, it's safer than just about everything else. And so that was horrible. I did see that. But we'll see. Let's see if we get the Amtrak. I don't care. Even despite that, hope Amtrak comes here in the infrastructure rebuild. As we'll see what goes on going forward here. The National League, the Reds are dormy, basically. They're not mathematically eliminated, but what a time if you're a Cardinals fan to see what they've done. Unbelievable. The Cardinals just go on an absolute tear at absolutely the right time. The Cardinals have now won 16 consecutive games. 16 straight in baseball. It's ridiculous.
Is it a Mitchell Hannigan factor?
It may be.
Maybe it's handguns doing.
So they have put themselves 18 games over 500. They're still 7 behind Milwaukee, but they're pretty firmly in the wild card. That's for damn sure. St. Louis is 6 games ahead of Cincinnati and Philadelphia for the last wild card spot. And either the Dodgers or Giants are going to be the other wild card team. So looks like Cincinnati won't get it done. The Mets are officially eliminated. They made a serious nosedive. They're now 9 games under 500. Forget about the wild card. They're like 13 games out of the wild card. So just an utter collapse there. But Yankees looking good to get in, but it's not over. It's going to be a lot of fun in the last week here in the American League. The Red Sox have the brunt of the schedule coming in their favor. They play 2 terrible teams to wrap up their season. They play the Orioles, and then they play the who do they have after that? They end up with the Nationals. So the Yankees have a much more difficult schedule going down the stretch, I believe. Yankees play the Blue Jays. Wow, starting tomorrow in a 3-game set in Toronto. That is going to have huge ramifications for the postseason. And then they play the Rays. So the Rays aren't playing for very much. They've already clinched the division and the best record in the American League. So how about the National League? I mean, the Dodgers have 100 wins already. They're 156, and they're still 2 games out of first place. The Giants, one of the surprise teams in baseball this year. So it's going to be a fun last week as we head to the postseason. So we got that going on.
437-9680 UPS Job Sex Line. I want to work a couple of these in because somebody accidentally texted the 680 line instead of the 93.9 text line. And they sent this. I want a grande triple non-fat half decaf soy milk French roast caramel cappuccino with just a splash of hazelnut. Okay, orange extract and extra foam in a separate cup. They are of course alluding to the fact that on air we had a Monday Night Football bet. I decided to get Process to come over, and typical. I love Process, but anytime I get really excited for something that involves him, he's absolutely Michigan J Frog, where like I'm expecting, okay, here we go, this will be great, and he comes over at Ribbit. I'm like, geez Louise. So I'm like, come on over, it'll be fun. I'll play your music. We could do a little on-air banter, and he's funny. Don't get me wrong, he's funny. But as the texter said, he interrupted the show for like a $10 bet. Him and Steve, all they bet was that if Process's Eagles tonight, Monday Night Football, which you can hear here on ESPN Louisville, if they beat Rummage's Cowboys, Rummage buys them, like a McDonald's Egg McMuffin. If Process loses, he has to go to Starbucks and get the most not processed drink ever. The frilliest, foamy, creamy, whatever concoction, and tweet like a basic white girl on social media. So we were kind of hoping that, like, if he lost, he would have to work in some inappropriate phrase on the Diener show or something along those lines, and that, if Rummage lost, he'd have to do a Cats chant or something along those lines. But that's basically it. It's basically just involved surrounding breakfast goods. But if you need an extra reason to watch Monday Night Football tonight or listen to it right here on ESPN Louisville, like myself, I need about 15 points from Tony Pollard to eke out a victory over one James Strebel in fantasy football. But if for no other reason you just want to see Process tweet like a basic white girl, maybe you pull for Rummage's Cowboys tonight.
Do you think people are really emotionally invested in that?
No, not at all. And I was expecting there to be a lot of smack talk and banter and everything like that, but Michigan J. Frog came over there, ribbit.
Yeah, I think that's
he did leave with the Cats by 90. That was kind of funny.
People will invest if the guy's got to do something goofy. Like he's got to go sit on a billboard for a week or something. But so he has to go buy a drink at Starbucks. Is his loss? He should hope that most people would say, "God, you should get that if you win."
Well, I think he's buying a round for everybody too on the show. But yeah, it's basically breakfast and coffee. It was a little bummed. Like, Steve had the idea that Process would have to say penis every hour on the Diener show, have to work it into the conversation somehow, much to the chagrin of Diener. But Maven was the mature one and said that we couldn't do that. But
Texas says, do you think Boone saved his job this weekend, or is he still on the hot seat if they don't make the World Series? I'll tell you, he's getting a lot of scrutiny, and A-Rod has turned into a really good analyst, and he was... it was a comedy of errors last night, basically. The Yankees had a 3-1 pitch on LeMahieu, and the announcer, Matt Versargian, I always say his last name, Versargian, but
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And anyway, he does a good job of setting A-Rod up, as does Buster Posey, good Lord, Buster Olney, because they always ask him, what would you do in this situation? And A-Rod, I'll tell you, it's so much fun to listen to, the guys who really know the game. And he said, no, I would not send. They put in a pinch runner for the Yankees and they asked him, would you send him if the Yankees, again, in the 8th inning, needing a run, guys on first, would you send him? And he said no, because LeMahieu likes to take 3-1 pitches. He likes to see if he can...
I was going to say, he's one of the few guys that actually hits for contact.
Well, he's very confident hitting. He takes a lot of 2-0s, and he takes a lot of 3-1s, he said. So, why would you do it? And he said, and so sure enough, the pitch comes in. He takes it. They send a runner, and I don't know whether he lost track of the outs. I haven't read the paper today. I got to check. But he doesn't slide. The guy goes into second, and with a good slide, I think he'd have been safe. He goes, and then he does what they tell you never to do, ever, is make a very late slide, because you can break your leg doing that. So he's like, I guess I should slide. He's like not even, he's maybe a foot from the base, and he just kind of flops on his rear end, and they tag him out. And I'm not sure he was out because it was such an awkward play. I'm surprised Boone didn't challenge that. I mean, the whole thing was bizarre. So they do that. They run themselves, after they drop the 2 pop-ups the inning before, then they run themselves into a mess here. And then, of course, the next pitch to LeMahieu is ball 4. So he gets a walk. It would have been first and second and nobody out. Now they got a guy on first and 1 out. And, and he's had he made a pitching change earlier and brought the guy in. The guy they had was a right-hander and was pitching great. But, sometimes you get too clever for yourself. So what's his name? Alex Cora announces he's going to pinch hit a left-hander. So Boone says, and goes to the bullpen and brings in his left-hander who has no earthly idea where home plate is. He's everywhere. He's high, he's low, he's in, he's out, he's in the dirt, he's over his head. He's everywhere. So, I mean, you say, well, that's, over-managing. The guy they had out was mowing him down. And so I don't know. That's a good question. He's definitely beyond on the hot seat. I don't know if he has to win the World Series, but and everybody loves Booney. That's the thing that does work in his favor. He is a wonderful human being. He really is.
And he also murdered the Red Sox. So in the postseason with a walk-off grand slam. Yeah. So I feel like that makes it so that you never have to buy beer in the city again. 437-9680 UPS Jobs text line. My buddy Steve, by the way, is going to be on Rich Eisen's show this week, talking about some of his fantasy. He's in a fantasy league with the producer of the show, and they have all kinds of wacky bets going on. But this is funny. I kind of wish we would have done it with Process and Rummage. Loser for my fantasy league has to start in OnlyFans and can only stop when they make $20.
So they're going to have to get makey?
Or whatever, and pose seductively, but they have to get $20 before they take the OnlyFans down. The irony is that guy's going to do it. He's going to post one, Richard photo, and he's going to find out that there's a market for it, make $50K. he's not going to take it down. So I gotta love it. All right, hey, we should probably take a break here because we got Sully on the other side.
Okay. ESPN 680 1057.
Are you ready for a job that gets you more? UPS is hiring now. As a warehouse worker, you'll earn up to $21 per hour, and you might even be eligible for a program that helps you with thousands of dollars for college, in many cases tuition free. Search and apply now at upsjobsky.com.
Card Nation, this is attorney Alex White with SueDistractedDriver.com. Our law firm is a team of dedicated attorneys ready to fight for you. If you get injured because of someone else's negligence, their insurance company already has a legal team, and now so do you. If you or a friend or loved one are injured, find your attorney at SueDistractedDriver.com.
This is an advertisement.